Om Shri Sai Ram, offering our collective salutations to Sadguru Shri Madhusudan Sai, respected elders, esteemed guests, noted educationists and academicians from various countries and institutions, staff and students of our university, brothers and sisters, Sai Ram, Namaste, and a very good morning to all. Welcome to the inaugural session of the National Conference on Making Higher Education Accessible and Available to All, presented by the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. We would first like to welcome our dignitary seated on the dais, Professor Chandra B. Sharma, former Chairman, National Institute of Open Schooling and Professor Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. We welcome you, sir. Madam Kunavati Ammal, Senior Teaching Fellow, National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Dr. Suma Nair, Faculty Research, Manipal Global Next University, Malaysia. Ms. Sumita Ghosh, Founder and Manager Director, Rang Sutra Crafts. Ms. Gitanjali JB, Co-Founder, Himalayan Institute of Alternatives. Dr. C. Srinivas, Chairman, Sri Sathya Sai Health and Education Trust. And from the leadership team of our university, we have Sri B. N. Narsamurthy, Chancellor. Dr. Srikanta Murthy, Vice Chancellor. Sadguru Shri Madhusudan Sai, our revered founder and the guiding light behind this conference. We pray to our founder to inaugurate this conference by lighting the lamp, symbolizing an auspicious beginning.
Asato ma sagamaya tamaso ma Shantihi.
We also request Sadguru to unveil the logo of the conference. Pre-university girl students of the Chikbalapur campus will now render Medhadi Siddhartha Mantra as part of the invocation.
विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽद्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्याम्भोरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पीतः श्रुतं मे गोपाय आवहन्ति वितन्वाना कुर्वाणा चिरमात्मनः वासागन्सेम मगावश्च अन्नपाने च सर्वदा ततो मे श्रियमावह लोमशां पशुभिः सह स्वाहा आमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा विमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा प्रमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा दमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा शमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा यशो जने सानि स्वाहा श्रेयान्वस्य सोसानि स्वाहा तन्त्वा भग प्रविशानि स्वाहा समा भग प्रविश स्वाहा तस्मिन् सहस्रशाके निबगाहं त्वयि मृजे स्वाहा यथा प्रवतायन्ति यथा मासा अहर्जरम् एवं मां ब्रह्मचारिणः धातरायन्तु सर्वतः स्वाहा प्रतिवेशोऽसि प्रमावाहि प्रमापद्य स्वा ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु।
India in recent decades has made significant progress on access to schooling in primary education, largely due to various public and private initiatives and drives. In the past few years, primary education scheme has grown a high gross enrollment ratio of 93 to 95% in some Indian states. The same is not the case, however, when it comes to higher education. As per the All India Survey on Higher Education 2019-20 report, the gross enrollment ratio in higher education in India was only 27.1%, hardly an improvement from the previous year's 26.3%. And this national conference will delve into how higher education can be made accessible and available to everyone, while also discussing the importance of incorporating human values into the system of university education. In fact, the grand convocation ceremony that we all witnessed last evening is a testimony of the impact of making higher education available and accessible without any barriers of any kind. Social entrepreneurship, which is one of the major aspects of preparing youth for an effective and purposeful way of life, of using their knowledge and skills in the service of society, while simultaneously giving them the necessary freedom and enthusiasm to be innovative in their approach to solving societal problems, will also be expounded in the conference by eminent entrepreneurs from around India. We will now have the inaugural video of this national conference. Can we have the video, please?
National Conference on Making Higher Education Accessible and Available. The 2021 All India Survey on Higher Education shows that India's gross enrollment ratio was 27.1% in the 2019-2020 academic year. Although enrollment into higher education has indeed seen a rise, particularly between 2015 and 2019, and available to everyone, students will grow into saplings of knowledge and trees of wisdom, as they too will be inspired to undertake the task of sheltering others like them from illiteracy and poverty. This is the sole way that the country can be uplifted. The National Conference on Making Higher Education Accessible and Available, organized by the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, will embrace a panel of luminaries from various fields, social entrepreneurs, and experts to deliberate on topics such as the higher education of girls, women empowerment, empowerment of socially backward students, and the need for translating informative education into transformative action.
We now request our Chancellor, Shri B. N. Narsamurthy, to make the introductory remarks.
Offering my loving pranams at the feet of Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, very eminent educationists seated on the stage, very dear brother Dr. C. Srinivas, all the brothers and sisters who have gathered here from many countries, our dear students, boys and girls. For a few minutes, I would like to speak not as the Chancellor of this university, but as a humble servant of our motherland and a very earnest dreamer of the ancient ideal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world as one family. This conference, the theme, as already announced, is making higher education accessible and available. We have 4 technical sessions in which very learned educationists, educational leaders, and thought leaders are going to speak and discuss. The first technical session focuses on creating opportunities for students for them to pursue their passion. The second session deliberates on empowering girls with higher education. The third session, from rights to responsibilities. And the fourth session, the purpose of higher education. What is higher education needs to be thought of and defined in the context of the crisis that the whole of humanity is facing, contemporary crisis. It just needs one of the heads of the countries having nuclear weapons to go mad, to destroy this planet. We sit on a pile of weapons which can destroy this planet not once, not twice, not thrice. It is calculated as 5,000 times this planet can be destroyed with the weapons on which we sit. In fact, it was Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba way back when he was speaking to intellectuals in Mumbai, educationists, scientists, thought leaders. One of the scientists asked this question to Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. We say that we are scientifically advanced, but at that time, the nuclear weapons and the other kind of weapons, we talk of chemical weapons and bio weapons, he asked a question. We have so many weapons which can destroy the world 3,000 times. At that time, we have progressed. That is the advancement we have made. Now we can destroy it 5,000 times. That is, then Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba said, that is why I say scientists are brainless. When you do something, you should think how it is going to affect your neighbor in the village, in the town, your countrymen, and finally, whole of humanity. It is in this context, a very prolific writer and a great thinker on the issues of science, Isaac Asimov said, science gathers knowledge faster than societies gather wisdom. Science without wisdom will destroy this planet, beautiful planet, 5,000 times. So we need to define what is higher. Is higher education just undergraduate courses, postgraduate courses, and research? Is it that? From that point of view, we have progressed. 20 years ago, we had a few hundred colleges and universities in our country. Today, we have thousands. And it is so in all countries. We have provided higher education to more number of children, more number of students. We have made it accessible to more number of people. Therefore, we have progressed. Because we did not know what is true higher education. Any higher education which does not teach men and women the higher nature, the higher potential, the divine potential of human beings is definitely dangerous, absolutely dangerous. So how do we solve this problem? Yes, undergraduate courses are required. Postgraduate courses are required. We need to provide the best infrastructure possible. We need to get the best of professors who have deep knowledge of what they're teaching in academics. Is it enough? Definitely it is not enough. See, this is a question which has to be addressed by all the educationists of the whole world, not only in India. If the humanity has to survive, there is only one way ahead. The avatar, the divine incarnation, the voice of the divine in our own times. Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba said this. And now Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai is saying this. without the component of spiritual education, teaching only values is not possible. See, this is what we have to think. You ask any educationist anywhere in the world, is values education required? Everybody says yes. You go to Singapore. I have discussed with many of my friends in Singapore. They have values education, but they have thrown God and spirituality out of the window when they talk about values education. Without a spiritual foundation, moral values are not stable in human beings. This is what we have to understand. Men are moral because of policemen. This is what Swami Vivekananda said. Is it possible? Morality should stand on a firm basis of a spiritual experience in one's own heart. Without that, morality is very unstable. Sometimes we are good. That is what Mark Twain said. I have given up smoking. It is very easy to give up smoking. I have given up smoking 100 times. This is how moral we are. Why? Because we don't know that we are divine. Human who does not go in quest of divinity within himself will not even remain a human being. He will descend to the level of a human, level of a brute animal. At this point of time, I would appeal to our students. Many of the elders would have read the book Animal Farm, the novel. That is why Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba said, and Sadguru Madhusudan Sai says, and proclaiming that there are 3 steps: Daiva Priti, Papa Bhiti, and Sanganiti. Sanganiti, morality in society, will not come without these 2 things: love for God and fear of sin. If you love God, you may develop fear of sin. If you have fear of sin, you will not be immoral in your life, in your personal life and public life. You will not be immoral. Therefore, a spiritual foundation is absolutely necessary. And this was pointed out by E.F. Schumacher, a great thinker of our times. He said, the problems of the world today are not physical, but metaphysical. The solutions should also be metaphysical. If the current anti-spiritual environment that pervades our schools and colleges for some more time, education, far from being the greatest resource of mankind, will become the worst weapon of destruction. See, this is what is happening. Therefore, we have to think. It is not just making opportunities for higher education accessible and available. It has to be on a spiritual foundation. But today, for many reasons, people are afraid, especially academicians, lack courage. They don't speak what they feel in their hearts because they think they will be dubbed, branded as ancient, obsolete specimens. But this is the truth. And how do we go about it? We need not have to look far. That is why I said I am speaking as a servant, humble servant of the country, not as the Chancellor. Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, I have been in the field of education for more than 50 years. I served Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba in his university and schools for more than 4 decades. For the first time in the world, Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai has created a model of the university which can solve all the problems of the world. I am not saying this as Chancellor, I am telling you. I am not even saying this as a humble devotee of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba and a disciple of Sadguru Madhusudan Sai. I am speaking as a very earnest, very sincere human being interested that our children, our grandchildren should lead better lives. They should have secure lives, safe lives. Everybody should be given an opportunity to realize that he is divine, she is divine. Then, can we replicate this university elsewhere is the big question. We don't have 100 Sadguru Madhusudan Sais. Can we replicate? I would say yes. How? Teacher is the key. If you can create inspired teachers, it is possible anywhere. It is possible. Teachers will have to become gurus. There is a huge difference between a guru and a teacher. All gurus are teachers, but all teachers are not gurus. A teacher explains, a guru inspires. A teacher instructs, a guru constructs. A teacher at best can provoke the intellect. A guru can invoke divinity in the heart of the students. Where do you get such teachers? Where do we get if these teachers are there? They can create a university like this under a banyan tree. We don't require all this infrastructure. Dr. Vinayaka Krishna Gokak, the first Vice Chancellor of Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, with whom I had the good fortune of working. He visited Mudinalli many times not because it was a huge, we had a huge infrastructure. We had nothing, almost nothing. We taught our children under the trees many times. Because why? We had some kind of classroom, tile roof buildings. The bounty has come here with Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. We taught. Vinayaka Krishna Gokak came because this is the Indian ideal, where knowledge, wisdom can be imparted under the trees in the open. Definitely, we need not go back to those days. The inspired teachers will come. If set of inspired teachers are there, in Nigeria you can have a university like this. In Canada, you can have a university. Anywhere you want, you can have a university. In Africa, you can have a university like this. But how do you get, that is the real question. How do you get those teachers? Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, in his immense compassion, 3 years ago, offered to the governments, we are ready to train teachers. Let the teachers, school teachers, university teachers, first come and see what is happening here. He offered, send your teachers. We will keep them here. Short-term courses, long-term courses. So there is a solution. Situation is not that hopeless that this planet will be destroyed 5,000 times. Satya Sai Baba asked the question to that scientist who asked it. You are brainless because if planet is destroyed once, where is it there to be destroyed 3,000 times? So there is a hope. There is a future. The hope is here, not in the infrastructure, not in the buildings, but in the message of Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. Let us think about it. Let us light the fire of sincere discussion. Not just, we have so many hundreds of conferences. We spend so much money. Just speak and go back. let this fire of the anguish that our children, our grandchildren will not have a future on this planet should spread everywhere. We have to think. Let's think. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your words of insight and inspiration. On behalf of all of us, we now pray to Sadguru to bless us all with his inaugural message. Sai Ram.
All the dignitaries on the dais, Geetanjali ji, Sumita ji, Suma ji, and I find it very difficult to pronounce your name. Kuna, so I'll leave it at Madam Kuna from Singapore. I think it's Kunavati Ammal, isn't it? Okay, so I got it right. I know even Indians are finding it difficult. Chinese will definitely be nightmare. Then I have Narasimhamurthy ji, Sharma ji, Srinivas ji, and Srikantamurthy ji. All educationists, social leaders, thought leaders from various parts of the world who have done a lot in the field of education especially, and even otherwise in the field of social change. To all of them, we welcome you to this Satyasai Grama, which is, as per our scripture, there is a saying, Yatra Vishwam Bhavati Ekanidam, where the whole world finds a home. So Satyasai Grama is a home which you have found today. And these are all our children from the university, very eager to listen to all of you, to learn from you, and to implement and practice it in their own lives. We have dignitaries and many delegates from various other countries. To them also, most welcome to this conference. This conference is an outcome of a long discussion and a thought process. As we all know that education is very important for one to live in this world. Everybody needs an education. But most of the children in India especially and many other developing countries, they undergo school education, maybe a little high school education, but many of them do not enroll into higher education institutions like degree colleges, professional courses and beyond. As we just saw, less than 30% of high school students go in for higher education in India. And in rural area, it's just 1% of rural women in India who enroll into higher educational institutions. And you can imagine 50% of India is young, and 50% of that young India is girls, and only a very few people, a very meager percentage of those girls go for higher education. There are many reasons for it, and I'm sure during the discussions all these reasons will come out and solutions also will come out. But I just wanted to acquaint them with this idea that while the conference is on availability and accessibility, and quite understandable these topics are. Availability means it should be there everywhere. You can't have a few institutions in few places and not available to rural children, where most of the children in India and most of the world live in smaller towns and rural areas, but they do not have higher education institutions close by. So how to make it available, how to have more of such institutions everywhere? It has to be accessible to. Accessible means it should be affordable to, because higher education is a costlier affair compared to school education. And most of the governments, while they provide free school education like in India, higher education is generally charged. And just to give you some statistics, the student debt alone in a very developed country like the United States of America is more than 1.7 trillion. That was the last figure I knew, but I'm sure it is more than that now after COVID. So in India too, higher education is a very elitist affair, especially medical education or any other professional education is also very difficult to get. One, For example, the NEET exams that are happening now on 17th of July, many of our students are applying for just 80,000 medical seats, close to around 18 lakh children are applying for those seats. How are we going to distribute those seats, and what basis? If you do it on the merit basis, then most of the urban children who have studied in established schools, who could afford such an education as in the English language, probably will bag most of the seats. And while the rest of the rural India will just be left deprived. So this is the state of higher education everywhere, especially in girls' education. So while accessibility, availability is one part of it that includes affordability, the other side of it is also agreeable education. What do I mean by that? A lot of girl students are here. I remember when we started a pre-university college, it was upon the request of a girl in Chikbalapur. She said, we have 4 children to our father, and I have been studying so far till 10th standard because your school is free. But if you do not open a pre-university college, which is the 11th and 12th standard, senior secondary, I will not be able to continue my education. My father cannot afford it. So please open a pre-university college. And that's how the pre-university college started in Chikbalapur. And today it has grown into a university because for the same need. The same girl would not be able to continue even higher education if a free educational institution is not available. So availability, accessibility was taken care of. We set it up in a rural area. We set it up free so that children can access it, afford it. But most importantly, after a certain time, we realized that parents were not agreeable for the girls' education. They wanted the girls to get married and settle down quickly, and they did not want them to continue into a higher education. And that would lead to such a loss of human potential. 50% of India, the rural youth, are women. And if they do not get education, so many people's abilities are stunted. So many people's potential is wasted. And even as a world, we are facing that situation. Just today's, I think one of the newspapers I was looking at, it said that World Economic Forum has come up with a gender parity report of 2021-22. And it says that now India has slipped to 135th position in terms of gender parity. And this is one of the Sustainable Development Goals, gender equality, gender parity. And which means what? That the women are not getting as many opportunities as men. That is what gender inequality is all about. So, making education also agreeable to the parents, the rural parents, who do not understand the value of it. They think it's easy to get rid of the girl or get the liability off their accounts, get the girl married, and they need not spend on the girl. And we had to really sit down with many of the girls' parents in our university to make them understand the importance of higher education for them. And to this goal, to be even instituted an incentive scheme. If you get enrolled into our higher education institution after your graduation into post-graduation, you will get a monthly stipend. Education is free, it's accessible, it's affordable, but we also give an extra stipend to the child to incentivize the child to study in our institutions, finish their post-graduation. And the parents finally were agreeing to that idea because there was no expense on their part. In fact, I had to kind of hard sell this idea to them by saying that if you save all the internship amounts that they get or all the stipends, you might not have enough money to get them married without taking a loan from anywhere. Our parents were quite thrilled about that idea. And I was thrilled too, at least the girl will get education. Because you see, in the COVID times, today's the World Economic Forum report, which has come out on Wednesday, that is yesterday, it says the worst affected are the women after COVID in terms of opportunities to work, to educate themselves, to be independent. They are the worst affected. It's naturally so. We know how our society works. So education is such an important tool. If they are well educated, especially women, they can look after their families in the face of a calamity. They can stand on their own 2 feet. And God forbid something untoward happens in their married life, their children will not be forsaken. So that is the power of empowering girls and women in terms of giving them higher education. While this is happening on one side, these children are also being inspired to become teachers of the future. One thing that is in severe shortage in India is availability of good teachers. There is a shortage of 10 lakh teachers in India alone. I'm sure this is the same story in most of the developing nations. And where there are teachers, they are not good teachers in developed countries. They just teach it as a profession, not as out of passion. Many of them become teachers out of some kind of a chance, but not out of choice. So we do not need such teachers because they do more damage than help. And they demotivate the students also by their bad example. So again, making higher education accessible, available also needs, we must prepare teachers of the future, which Narasimha ji just pointed out. So our institution also puts efforts to inspire these boys and girls to become teachers of the future. Because then, even if they don't have an infrastructure, as I say, we can teach them under a peepal tree or whichever tree. Idea is that we have a teacher for every student somewhere. And that ratio of student and teacher ratio is declining very badly in India. Many of the school education programs are failing because we do not have enough teachers to look after the students. So there are many issues that need to be discussed. And I would leave with one more thought, final thought for this opening, that our institute is called Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. There is this word excellence over there. And excellence, we all know, it is better standards. Whatever we do it better than before. That's how we excel in everything till we reach the acme of perfection. But excellence happens only when everybody does what they are born to do. If they are forced to do something other than what they are born to do, they can never excel. Then societies will become mediocre societies, where everybody is just existing. They are not living, they are not thriving, because they have been made to do something other than what they were born to do. And we celebrated the convocation yesterday. We had some honorary doctorates received by some of the very eminent people. There were space scientists, there were nuclear physicists, there was a musician, there was a sports personality, there was an environmentalist, there was a healthcare professional, a delivery professional. We had different kinds of people who are excellent in whatever they're doing. And why are they able to do that excellently? It's because they are just doing what they were born to do. Now, if the musician was asked to play cricket, and the cricketer was asked to sing a song, I'm sure you would have lost a good musician and got a bad cricketer. And as a society, it would have devolved further. So a musician had to be a musician and the cricketer had to be a cricketer. That's how they could excel and bring laurels to themselves, their countries. So we need to encourage this kind of mindset amongst the parents, teachers, and the students to pursue their passion. That's when excellence would happen, because they will be driven out of passion, not by force or compulsion. Economics play a very vital role. Most of the parents don't want children to take the road less traveled because they do not know whether they will be financially secure. But the world is changing, the societies are changing, people are getting recognized for their talents. It's not the same old engineering, medical, government job, the methodology of the old times. I fully empathize with the parents of the middle class who have seen the worst times in the last 40, 50 years. And so they're all naturally afraid of what would happen to their children if they don't go the regular route. I fully understand, but the times have changed. They have to be made to understand. That's also a role of teachers, to make the parents understand and assimilate this idea that there are many ways of excelling. It's no more just same beaten tracks. Children can excel, and if they do well, the world will recognize their talent and reward them for that. So that is something that we need to push for. And entrepreneurship is one of the topics. And entrepreneurship can be of all kinds, not just economical, or it could be social entrepreneurship, cultural entrepreneurship, it could be spiritual entrepreneurship. So you could benefit the world in so many ways. All that is a part of education, of higher education. Let's make it an all-inclusive and all-encompassing education, not to be given in bits and pieces in pockets. But let us make a holistic person out of the student whom we are fortunate to serve as educationists. So while the government is making many steps, in India especially, national education policy has come out. It talks about multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach to education, so that the best comes out of the student. We still have a long, long way to go. The joy of learning must be brought back into our educational institutions, and that would happen when children are happy to pursue their passions. And they are not forced into a straitjacket approach to education. an industrial approach to education where everybody should come out the same at the end. It will never happen because we are humans, we are different, and that is our strength. Our diversity, our differences is our strength. So we are born to do something. The higher education must make efforts to provide students the opportunities to do what they are born to do. They will excel. They will do well for themselves, their societies, their communities, and the world at large. And more than anything else, they will be happy people. People with fulfillment in life. And only happy people can make happy societies and happy world. There won't be conflict, there won't be strife, there won't be struggles because they're all happy. There's nothing to snatch from anybody, nothing to seize from anybody. They're all contented as they are because they're just doing what they're doing. Therefore, while there is so much that can be discussed, I just want to leave this thought with all the educationists and eminent speakers who are here will share their thoughts with all of you. But dear children, this opportunity of education is not given to everybody in this world. There are millions of students out of school, out of colleges. And our country, as India, we are still quite okay, but there are many countries I have traveled around the world and have seen how difficult it is for the children to get a good education. Be mindful of the opportunity that has come your way and make sure that in your lifetimes, each one of you takes this education to hundreds of more children who cannot access or afford this kind of education, especially on the women's side. So I expect a lot from this conference. I expect that a lot of solutions, practical solutions will be provided through the experience of all the eminent speakers and educators. And I'm sure the students and staff of the university, the delegates, and all the members who have arrived here will benefit from their experience and advice. Wishing all of them the very best for this conference, and I look forward to a successful conference ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sadguru, for that wonderful message. Many thanks to the leadership team and our eminent speakers who have joined us this morning. We will now have a short break for 10 minutes and will reconvene at 11:45 for the session 1 of today's conference. Saira.